Set your butane torches to high and your expectations to low. Coming to you live from Just the Tip Cigars in the hills of the Steel City, get ready to get your fix. This is the Cigar Junkies Podcast.
Welcome to the Cigar Junkies Podcast,
A cigar show for the community by the community.
a forum that talks stogies, booze, food, and anything else in cigar lifestyle.
If you're looking for ratings, negativity, reviews, or an authority on all things cigars, you came to the wrong place.
Whether you like what you hear or not, please join the conversation and let us know by finding us at the Cigar Junkies Facebook group.
Or emailing us at thecigarjunkies@gmail.com.
What's up, junkies?
Man, that intro sounds like garbage in these headphones.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's not great.
I don't sit over here long enough. I haven't worn headphones in forever.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a little strange. I definitely look like Timu Joe Rogan today, for sure. Right?
Great value, Joe Rogan.
Great value.
Maybe Sam's Choice. I'm not sure.
Members Mark? No. Members Mark some good stuff sometimes.
So where does that fall? Is a Great Choice above or below Members Mark?
I don't
It's
even
below.
know. I don't
So yeah,
know.
definitely great value then.
What's the one that starts with an S or something? That's the real bad one.
Kirkland, that's Costco,
That's not an S.
and it's definitely not an S. I don't know. What's up, Mikey Kazora?
Has
How
he
you
got a
doing,
shirt
bud?
on? You know what I like about doing this show is we can see them in the chat pop in, but I don't have to know whether or not he's wearing a shirt.
You don't have to what?
I don't have to know whether or not he's wearing a shirt.
Right. Yes.
Although
that
I
is-
can certainly assume that he's not because
Yeah.
he's Mike Kazora.
I don't see any. I mean, it's above 12 degrees outside. I don't think he's gonna be wearing a shirt at all.
Yeah, plus he's probably hanging out in his garage.
Oh yes, 100%.
Which is cool. I used to do a lot of that. I miss those days.
Yeah.
Miss
Hell,
him
I
for
used to
sure.
join you there occasionally.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, this one headphone on, one headphone off isn't going to work super well. The problem is I hear myself in the microphone.
I know.
Don't realize that you can't hear me, and I don't have the voice to put it out to you today because
Yeah, you're
I'm a little.
you're struggling.
Yeah.
You've been riding the struggle bus the whole way in.
Yeah.
So tell the kids why and how did it go? Because I didn't ask you intentionally when you got here, so
Yeah.
that I could ask you here.
So essentially, the reason that I look and sound like microwave dog poop. Poop, I said.
Poo. Yeah.
No, nothing.
No.
Didn't even bring out the jar.
I-
and
I-
I still
I have
like
that much
stick
faith
right
in
on
you
past
today.
it. Yeah, that's right.
And I forgot.
Nah, we had the Strum Junkie show last night, Main Street Tavern. It's a good place, fun place. Show went pretty good, you know what I mean? It's the same as always, new equipment, struggling through the beginning, figuring it out. But the cool thing is I could save everything now and push a button, it's there next time. So theoretically, you know what I mean? Not that we have another show scheduled there yet, but if we did, it'd be ready to go.
Yeah. You're all ready to go. Good.
The
Really?
funny thing is, Jesus, this is gonna be a show, man. We're already struggling. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So the funny thing is, the owner keeps trying to get us to commit to playing once a month still, and we only play once a month. So we're jumping around and playing at different places. It's like
Right.
we can't do both, and so he's trying real hard to get us to double book, and
Yeah.
Nick's not having it, but.
No. I haven't met Nick, have I?
No, he's the opposite of me. He's tall and has a lot of hair,
Okay.
and he plays guitar well. So
Fair enough.
we complement each other well. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
No, yeah, you've talked about him before, but I keep meaning to ask, like, wait, have I met this guy? I don't know. One of those deals. So how was the rest of your week, though? Anything spectacular?
Yeah, just a continuation of the spectacular failure of our ability to figure out what's wrong at the mill. So, like,
Oh, it's
things-
still not there?
Now, how do I say this? Last week was terrible in the sense that catastrophic things that would happen that we could do something about theoretically, just not in a good time frame, and they required a lot of work for us.
Right.
Whereas this past week, it's been there's a problem, but nobody knows how to fix it.
Oh.
And we've just been trying, like racking our brains and trying this and trying that. And we're just waiting for the other shoe to drop because it's like we can't keep doing the things that we're doing and continue on. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
I can't get any more specific
Can't,
than that.
yeah, you
Just
can't go
because-
down. Yeah. But you're like, hey, we need to do something, but we don't know what that something is. Yeah, that's always frustrating.
Yeah, the other rough thing is too, like, I kind of appreciate Nick rejecting the once a month booking, because I don't know how many times a month I could do this. Like, this is a rough start, dude. This is as close as I've ever come to calling, and like, I'm not sick.
Yeah.
I'm not even hungover.
You're just hurting.
I gave everything last night. Oh, I picked the worst shoes to do the show in. Okay, so Eric, you would have liked this. It's St. Patrick's Day, so I wore my kilt.
Right.
And I'm like, what shoes can I wear with a kilt? Right? The only respectable option I have is a pair of dress boots that like zip up on the sides and have buckles on them and stuff. You don't usually see that stuff because it's underneath my pant leg.
Right.
But on a kilt, it's a golden opportunity. So I wore those and black socks, black kilt, chains hanging out everywhere and stuff. And which was great because it was really warm there. I found out the heater was on. So like that little fresh air blowing up there, it makes a lot of sense.
Well, yeah, it was helpful.
I imagine most leprechauns look like Scottish leprechauns.
Generally Irish.
I mean, yeah, yes, but what's the difference between an Irish
I ain't
looking one
going
and a
down that
Scottish
road, but
looking one?
I
I mean, it's already got orange hair. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
What else are you gonna have? Like maybe a mangy beard.
you got the kilt. The kilt's the differentiating factor.
But Irish wear kilts too.
Not as common.
Yeah, I mean they're not as cool.
I mean, you
That's
can't
true.
understand a damn word either of them say, but beyond that, yeah.
Did I wear it appropriately?
What is the appropriate manner to wear said kilt? Oh,
Well, BGD was there, so no, I wore protection.
you
Like
needed a layer there.
bum shield away. No, the moral of the story is the shoes look great. They felt terrible.
Not
to
good.
stand on for like 4 hours last night. Yeah, it was not. It was not a wise decision.
Not fantastic, huh? Oh,
No. I come out of that feeling my age for sure. My knees, my feet, my back, everything hurt so bad. Yeah.
he's got all kinds of comments today, doesn't he?
He's got him, but I can't
you
quite
can't-
hear him because I
yeah.
have the headphones on.
He said it sucks when the knees hurt, huh, bud?
That's accurate.
He's
For a
got
different
jokes.
reason than he has. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a different story happening there. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
The amount of rug burn that Eric has on his knees, it's just scar tissue and bone.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, or maybe at this point it's just a callus. Like it's that big, gross grandma's elbow callus that's there. Just the whole, no? Too much?
I don't
Okay.
know. Grandma, his thoughts have nothing to do with me. Your elbows look great.
So what was the song on your set list that got the best hype?
I don't know.
That got, the people seem to dive into the most.
It's really hard to say, man. To be honest with you, it's a lot like this with Eric talking. Well, first of all, I have a tablet that I'm looking at for my chords and my lyrics.
Right.
And then I've got a monitor in one ear, and I've got Nick and the sound and everything else. So, like, you try to look around a little bit, but you don't want to lose too much of where you are, your place, and
Yeah.
I'm not that confident yet. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
still on my training wheels. So it's a little tough to say. Plus, our reception was better the last time we played there from the audience. It was, I'd say, 50% different people than what we saw the last time.
Okay.
And in addition to that, it's St. Patty's Day. So, I mean, the guys that are out there, people that are out there, have been there probably since 8 o'clock in the morning. The ones that haven't are in a big hurry to get messed up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Yeah, everybody was on a mission last night. They were,
absolutely.
yes, pursuing alternative goals, as it were. No, it's cool, though. I'm glad you had a different crowd, too. At least gives you an opportunity to get in front of somebody else. How is it? I didn't try it or anything.
It's all right. It's not bad. It's not bad.
I had a little bit of vanilla to it because I don't have a coffee liqueur, and freaking vodka and espresso. Done.
I like it. It's something, man.
Yeah.
It gives me little kick that I needed.
Gives me hope.
So-
Yeah, it's pretty much the only way you drink coffee, isn't it?
That's not the only way. I also drink it in the winter time. Like if it's real cold, I'll drink coffee.
Yeah, okay.
And I just generally don't like hot beverages. So,
that makes sense.
you know what I mean? And but even in the tree stand, a lot of times there's Baileys in there. So,
Yeah, something to make it worth it to you.
how was your week?
Good. We no, it was good week. Pretty. I mean, I'm here all week. Yesterday, I went to a whiskey Scotch share with the Boggers United group.
Went to
Yeah.
physically, like
Yes,
you left?
physically left.
I didn't know that was possible.
I didn't know either. It sucked because it was so far away that it was like, all right, I get to try a couple of these, but I got to be well on my game. Plus St. Patty's Day, so that adds another dynamic to. Is it being more careful because I mean there's gonna be 8,000 cops. Did that, and it was a really good time. Great group of people. The food was fantastic. They just put it all out there. I decided at the last minute I wasn't going to try and share whiskey with that group because they've surpassed so far. The bottles they have are just next level everything.
Yeah.
I mean, there was just a line of Octomore, and that was like that wasn't even a focal point for most folks. So I ended up bringing a half a box of Maria Lucia's out and just setting them out and letting people go at it. And they smoked some cigars.
Yeah.
They went through some sticks yesterday, which was cool. I was happy to see how many travel humidors were there.
Did you do some podcast spamming?
What's that?
Did you do any podcast spamming? Hey,
Yes.
by the way.
Yes, I did. There's actually a couple things that came out of that you and I will talk about after the show too. The one guy, Jason, that I met, he's got
another one?
Yes, another Jason. So many of them. Dude, that's one of the names that this week I've just suddenly not been able to say is Jason. Every Jason I know, I've been calling him Justin. Every Justin I know, I've been calling him Jason. Like, I've just been getting him wrong all
That's
week.
because normally it's like, Jason. You know what I mean? I don't know if you could just say it in normal connotation anymore.
Well, I think I'm just going to start calling all Justins and Jasons Jay, and I'll just be done. I'm just done. I got too many names floating around here. I'm abbreviating.
My new thing has been to call Jason Sam. Sam Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little reversal.
It happens. I don't think you've called me Jason, have you?
I don't think you've noticed when I have.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're not listening pays off. You know what I mean?
Dude, I agree. Tater tots are awesome.
Tater salad.
Tater salad. My son, tater tot.
I felt like you were trying to wait until the camera flipped before you took your sip. So I was putting
I appreciate
it back,
that.
But then you started talking again. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't know.
Well, the opportunity was there, and I was like, and then I got it. So we were good. It fit in there well. Yeah, dude, you're right. Like, the pace is off. Everything, like, just the last couple days were very low sleep, high energy. So, yeah.
It's okay, man.
I
We can
look
have a
like
chill
I'm in a
show.
better position than you are, but I feel like
Thanks, Sam.
feel the same way that you look like you feel.
That's not a good place to be. When
Let's
people start using you as a system of measurement, they're like, damn, I feel how you look.
Yeah.
That's not good.
That's pretty much it.
It's really not
Yeah,
good.
dude, you came in with the eyes and everything. You were just like, I'm not ready to junk you today.
No. All right. How about we talk about the cigar of the week and maybe then we'll lead into something we can see. It's time for the Cigar of the Week, brought to you by Just a Tip Cigars. Are you looking for the best selection of boutique cigars? Do you want the tried and true legacy brands that are synonymous with the cigar lifestyle? Do you want luxurious cutters, lighters, and other accessories? Do you want to relax in the most comfortable cigar lounge in the burg? Then you want Just a Tip Cigars. Conveniently located in the Bavarian Village Shopping Center in South Park, Pennsylvania, Just a Tip Cigars has been tailor-built to your smoking needs. Whether you visit in person or on the web at justatipcigars.com, when it comes to cigars, Just a Tip is the whole package. Ooh-wee, the whole package.
The whole package.
I tried to do a Mr. Poopy Butthole. No,
It did not work.
You want to take care of that for me?
What's that?
Can you give me a ooh-wee? It's better, but the
Yeah, I can't do it.
inflections on the E.
Yeah.
You just did it.
Yeah. I'm not familiar enough with it to.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, you. Yeah, where's your lozenges, bud?
Yeah, they're around.
They're
They
around.
interfere with the
Cigar.
palate.
Yeah.
Dude, I felt like somebody put one of those JFRs out in the back of my throat when I woke up this morning. It was a rough time. Today, we are smoking the My Father, the Judge, little Come on, focus. Focus. Ooh,
There it is.
buttons are being
They're
pushed.
saying all kinds of things are happening.
I don't think it hurt anything, but at the same
It's
time.
not on the screen, but
No,
it doesn't.
yeah,
There we
yeah.
go. That's better.
It was a little distracting, wasn't it?
I was like, oh, you're in the crosshairs.
Who was that? Oh, it was Toe Face Eric. Remember my little illustration?
Yes, dude.
What if we made a got somebody that was marginally good with programming and we got just the head to come in from the side and go Toasty.
Toasty. Yeah, instead of
Oh, Mortal
whoopsie.
Kombat.
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
It was whoopsie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always thought it was Toasty.
Yeah. Whoopsie.
I didn't know how to make it happen either. It just happened when it wanted
Yeah.
to. A little aggressive in that microphone on the whoopsies, by the way.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
This is my father, the judge. It is not the size listed because I inquired numerous times and Sam never told
Torofino.
me. This, yes,
6 by 54, I believe.
by 56.
56. I was close.
56.
54 this way.
Closest
56
without
that way.
going over.
There it is.
You know what I mean? It is
Price
a
is
box
right.
press.
Price is wrong. Bob.
Wrapper is an Ecuadorian Sumatra. We've got a Nicaraguan Corojo and Criollo binder on this, double binder on this cigar, and fillers from Nicaragua. This cigar is made by the famous Don Pepin Garcia at the My Father
The man,
factory.
the myth.
That's right. I got a little information on him today. We're
Yeah.
gonna go a little deeper later on, but we'll start with kind of the early life. I thought this was interesting. I never heard a lot about Pepin's early life. So
Yeah.
in case you were out of the loop,
Deep dove.
let me fill you in. Not like that, Eric. Don Pepin began his life with tobacco in December 1961 at the age of 11. Began working in a factory in Baez, owned by an uncle. In March 1983, he began working at Felix Rodriguez Export Factory in the same city until he emigrated to Nicaragua in 2001. He spent 40 years in Cuba developing his skills as a torcedor, which, if you don't know, is a cigar roller, and a blender. Earned numerous accolades for blending abilities and achieved the highest ranking possible as a cigar roller, Class 8, which is Master. Among the awards he won was Productivity Prize for rolling 320 Julietas, which is a vitola of 7x47 ring gauge, in 4 hours.
Jesus.
That's a lot of cigars.
That's a
dude.
lot of tobacco.
Yeah. The Cuban press was often compared for speed and dexterity of his rolling to a magician. He is also a tabaquero maestro, which is a master blender, which is a teacher in the arts of blending and rolling cigars. He helped blend cigars such as Cohiba, Partagas, and Monte Cristo. During the 1990s, he was in charge of quality assurance for the Cohiba brand. He was also a consultant for several cigar makers in Cuba. During the 90s, he was accounted for Cuba's most productive master roller.
That's awesome. I do have one correction real quick. You said
Correct me.
83. It was in 63 he began working for Felix Rodriguez. That's
Numbers,
just-
you know what
Yep.
I mean?
Nope. And dude, the way that the font is and all that, it's not a judgmental, but definitely a big difference on that. 63, it was a different era of it.
There's a lot happening for me, and I have extra surfaces. I need a standing ashtray. We got to have a chair over here. There's this desk and drinks over here. It's
Yeah.
a production.
Not used to having all that space.
What's
So
your,
much room for activities.
I know that you're not opposed to My Father cigars. What's do you have like a personal history with My Father at all in terms of when in your journey you kind of stumbled across them and what you smoked?
That's the first one that I rating chased was the original My Father, just all that. It was the first one that I got excited because I saw it and it was rated high. Every one of their cigars is, they're all awesome for different reasons. We've smoked a couple on the show. We've smoked a couple on the show that will never be seen as well. Yeah, because that was My Father pack we did that out of, right? Yeah, that was I forgot the cigars. I had a 4-pack of My Father's in the
what
car.
happened?
Yeah,
Because but did we smoke them on both renditions of that show?
Yeah, so we ended up smoking the entire 4-pack on the show, and I think it was like
that was a day.
I can't even remember what all we smoked from that pack, but no, always good. I found the Florida Los Antillas. That's one of my favorites from them.
Yes.
I go back and forth which one I like better, that or the Le Bijou. Those are my two kind of go-tos. For an everyday smoke, La Promesa is fantastic.
The Florida Los Antillas is fun to say, though, isn't it?
And
especially once you figure it out and you're like, man, I put the effort in. I'm going to say this as much as possible.
Yeah. But no, it's the only cigar I've ever seen with a boobie on it, so that's nice, too. There's boobies, because everybody likes boob. Almost
you need to get
everybody
on
likes boobies.
Facebook, man.
On
Just
the book.
nestled in between a lot of Facebook
Yeah.
pictures.
I wonder if you took a picture of the band, if they would catch it.
I don't know.
If they would. That's a good one. But no, that's, those probably La Promesa and the Florida Los Antillas. I have smoked a ton of them. They were ones that I went to a lot. Again, La Promesa was super price approachable at the time, and the quality of it was next level compared to anything else. I can't remember what I was paying for them though. I want to say they were like $6 or $7 a piece for the Robustos.
It's nice that nobody's gonna like look at my father and be like, "That's a value brand," but their prices have always been really approachable.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Even for the stuff that people are seeking after, the prices are never bad.
yeah. Well, and you figure what was it? He rolled 320.
Well, yeah. I mean, when
cigars in 4 hours, 8, 10, 12 hour a day with people that can do half that. That's still, they're putting out some cigars, and the quality is, again, they're always well made. I had one plug up on me once. I think I've only had one, my father, that, and it wasn't unsmokable. It plugged up, and I was able to pull a stem out, and that was the end of it.
That's more than one cigar a minute, man.
What's that?
That's more than one cigar a minute.
I know
that he's rolling.
That's insanity.
That's why. So it's like, yeah, we don't have to charge too much for him. Just shoot him out.
It was it. He did 320, 240. Jesus.
I'm gonna try bringing the PA up just a hair to see if that helps you hear me. Is that okay?
Yeah, good.
Bringing it on up. Bring it up. Too much.
It actually makes it worse because I'm getting way more of me.
I can hear you through the PA through my headphones.
Yeah. No, I can hear you okay.
Fair enough.
It's occasionally a little bit low, but it's not a problematic situation.
I used up all my energy last night.
How'd you get intro to my father?
I think it was probably a top 25 or something that I saw him. But I mean, the nice thing about my father, like when you're talking about like the Florida Los Antillas and stuff like that, is that it's a cigar that's really common in most any shop, even if they have a small selection. And that's one of those like, oh, good. Like you're looking around and you're like, I don't know, man. Like there's a lot of cheapy looking stuff in here, and you see it my father, and you're like, okay, that's a respectable nerd stick. I can have that one. Yep,
100%. That's actually how I got onto that stick the first time. I was like, I know it's a my father stick, and I know I like their stuff, so I'll give it a shot. I definitely tend towards the Maduro of that one, because you have Florida Los Antillas is the Maduro, and then La Antigüedad is the natural of it, and they look very similar.
That's the one I can always not remember the name.
Antigüedad.
Yeah. I don't even know if I can.
I think that's the one we smoked on the show on the Lost episode.
One of them.
Yeah, I know we did the Centurion. We did the
El
two,
Centurion.
The El Centurion 2K, Y2K or whatever it is. We did the La Antigüedad. We did it. One of them was a Dom Pepin.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was a Jaime. I'm not sure. But yeah.
It was like the Centurion is like the really narrow box press, isn't it? I feel like it's like very wide and short. Like me.
The one we had was not.
No.
I don't know if it comes in that format. I'm not used to it. Chris Scales said no sound. And that's correct. There's no sound showing up.
That would have been super awesome to know a long time
ago. While ago, yeah.
The plus side is there's only like 3 people in here.
Yeah.
So let me hurry up and sort that out. Do you have anything to talk about for the because the podcast is fine.
No.
It's just the live people we're losing here.
Nah, I'm trying to think what else is going on.
I like the My Father Connecticut.
Yeah. No, that's cool. It has a nice spice to it and a pepper, which I think a lot of people look at it and think it's going to be lighter than it is. But that is not, in fact, the case. It's always been pretty reliable. I know there's some people, man, cult following, and that's another one. The price approachable as all get up. There we go. You changed something.
I did. So we got it.
How's it sound now, Chris Scales? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's coming in a little louder in my head.
She said can't hear a thing. We're working on it.
It'll be there, yeah.
See if it's there.
It should be.
And yay.
There it is. Yeah. No, the only people that we had in the live the whole time up until this point
Was us.
has been us and the people in the room.
Oh,
But
yeah.
maybe that's a good indication for why, is because they're like, what do I want to sit there and listen to this where I can't hear anything?
Why would I? Yeah, usually Seneca checks it for us, but he was unable to attend today's broadcast. So,
Honestly, if that's the worst thing that happens today, I'm not going to be too upset.
and no exploding lights.
Yeah.
So that's a plus.
That's
Definitely good without having that ever happen again.
Yeah, as long as I stay away from the mute buttons for the rest of the show, I think we're going to be just fine.
Yeah. Good morning to you as well, Chris Scales. Happy St. Patty's Day. I feel festive today.
You do. You know what's really strange about that look for you? The bow tie's an interesting choice altogether, right?
It was not my choice, but yes.
However, with that being said, the chest hair below the bow tie is a little bit
Disconcerting.
It's a little unnatural. It's like,
See if I can get
get
it down. There we go.
Why is there chest hair? What you need next time is, instead of rubber banding it around the neck, clip it to your
on.
shirt.
Yeah.
Nice big old clip.
No, I kind of like the awkwardness. It's more fun.
That's fair.
But no, I was leaving this morning, and her and the kids decided that I needed to add this to my outfit, so it was not part of it. But I very much felt with my bowling shirt on that I needed a big gold chain and a giant pinky ring to really round out this outfit. But that was a different way of leaning than the Irish.
So back to my father.
Chris Scales said you have a different sounding voice this morning.
I do.
Very much so.
It's more Jason-y, right?
He broke it yesterday.
Without the volume.
Yeah.
It's Jason without the volume. My father, Connecticut, has always been a standout to me, and one that I will go to way more often than anything else, because, man, it's got some stuff happening there.
Yeah.
It's got, like, that traditional pepin, pepper
A zing pow.
flavor to it. It's nice. Yeah, so I appreciate that it isn't boring.
Yeah. No, it's really good. I'd be curious to see which Jaime is your favorite. Hi, Shannon Banks.
Hi, honey. The blue label is all I really remember, and I do remember enjoying it pretty good.
The what?
The blue banded one, blue label.
Yeah.
I think that was just the Jaime Garcia, wasn't it?
Yeah, but there's 3 or 4
that
of those.
that was the original one, if I remember right, but I don't know.
I'm not sure, yeah. And then how about the Dom Pepin series? I haven't smoked any of those except the white.
I know I've had them.
Okay.
But to differentiate in my history which ones I had is not going to happen.
Yeah, I was just
especially not on this brain.
So if you were to pick, any My Father, which one's your go-to?
It would probably be like the Florida Las Antillas.
Really?
Once in a while, the 1922 La Bijou.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Nice.
I would say, like, more often than not, if I walk in and see a selection, and maybe it's the band, maybe it's the boobies, man. I don't know.
And the boobies get you.
The boobies on the band.
What how do you feel about the original My Father? The My Father.
Again, it's so blurry.
Okay.
From, like, you know what I mean? The amount of times that I've actually sat down and paid attention to, like, okay, this is the number 1, this is the number 4, hasn't happened frequently enough for me to be able to say. What I can tell you is I've never had a My Father that I was upset with.
Yeah, ever. That's a good way of putting it.
There's never been a My Father cigar.
Yeah,
I've
My
smoked.
Father, Dom Pepin, Jaime, Tatuaje. They're all, anything that comes out of that factory is at the very least good.
All right, I'm gonna get yelled at by Jason if I don't do it. So
Do it.
me a favor. Remember, if you're listening, if you're watching, if you can hear us, and maybe you can't, that's a possibility. You're part of this show. The Cigar Junkies podcast could not exist without your support. We appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with us live every Monday or Sunday morning at 9:30, whatever day it is.
We've only done it once.
It's I don't know where I am right
It's
now.
a day.
Yeah. I'm not even hungover. I'm just burned.
Just done.
Yeah. So you can do us a favor by going to every platform, not just Spotify, not just Apple Podcasts, not just all the other ones. Go out there, like, subscribe, share, comment, YouTube, Facebook. If you're not a part of the group, join up. The members are getting, it's slowing down a little bit, but man, we're getting pretty close to 800 members in the group,
Yeah, nice.
which is amazing. But most importantly, you can find it all by going to the cigarjunkies.podcast.com or just the cigarjunkies.com. I threw the podcast in there because I always feel like I'm going to say it wrong.
Yeah.
And it was because of, everything's different everywhere. Like Gmail, there is no podcast. Everything on Facebook, everything everywhere else does have it. So it's still something that's getting ingrained.
I don't remember our email. It takes me like minutes to recall exactly what it is. It's just the cigar junkies at Gmail, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
because I always put it in wrong the first time, too.
You got me double guessing over here. You know what I mean? But yes, that's
It
accurate.
used to be on the notes.
But you know what's super cool is right now there are 2 relatively new features or updates to the website. So if you go onto the menu and go to swag, you will now see that you have the option to buy all of the lovely designs for the Cigar Junkies t-shirts. That means you can get the face logo, you can get the skull logo, you can get the St. Patrick's Day logo for next year.
Yeah.
You're not getting it for this year.
Be prepared.
You could get them in all the colors, the sizes, the choices. You could get the flag on the back. So go in there, grab a t-shirt, use code Junkies for free shipping on your order.
Yep.
And more importantly, my update that I have here, our friend of our show, Chichingo, Dave and Patty, Ringo, however you know him, one of our bestest buddies, one of our bestest good pals, is out of the hospital and home.
So I talked to Patty on Friday night. Was it Friday? Yeah, Friday night. I talked to Patty. So Dave, they found something growing in his head that wasn't supposed to be there, and he had to have that removed. So he's gotten that done, but
which I think is bound to happen to most of us on this show.
But no. So the big thing, the reason that we have the GoFundMe is to help them out because she's not working because she has to stay home and take care of him. He's not working because he's broken right now. So anything you guys can do, greatly appreciated. They're just such great people.
Super generous people.
Yeah.
So the point is on the cigarjunkies.com, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I had to think about it again. On the cigarjunkies.com, we do have a tab where you can go help Dave and Patty. There is a GoFundMe set up. Please, these are 2 of the most generous people I've ever met in my entire life.
Yeah, 100%.
They give to everybody. They share their passion for cigars and alcohol and
everything.
Piggies and video games and all that cool stuff. Medical treatments are not cheap. Brain surgery, I'm sure.
It's probably not
cheap.
great, yeah.
Yeah, so whatever we could do to help them out is going to be appreciated by all.
Yes.
So jump on there and help us. But I think I'm going to go ahead and hit the old news if you're ready for it. I'm not going to hit the button.
Yeah.
But we're going to figure that out in the near future whenever we have less unpredictable, crazy chaos happening in life.
It's been hard to get us all together.
It's been a month, yeah.
And even when you guys when we've gotten together, it's been all right. And up, go for 10 minutes, come back, talk for 5 minutes, get up. It's been not great.
It's been BANANAS. I actually even took. We're not even going to do the events this week. I took that segment out for something else. So, on the cigar news, Foundation Company is moving its production from Aganorsa Leaf. With this move, Foundation will also discontinue the El Huense and Wise Man Maduro lines produced out of Aganorsa. It'll replace them with 2 cigars, the Wise Man Corojo and the Wise Man Maduro. Both of these cigars will be made at my father's cigar factory. Oh, look at that time.
Yeah.
They will launch at the trade show. McAuliffe Cigars has announced details about the McAuliffe Blue. I'm trying to find a position that I can read this and not be
Yeah, I was
awkward.
to say you look like you're on the struggle bus.
I'm driving. I'm all the passengers. It's just right off a cliff. It is.
Yeah.
The long-awaited successor to the McAuliffe Black. The cigar will officially launch at the trade show. The McAuliffe Blue is described as a medium-bodied cigar with an old-world feel. The blend features a San Andreas Sumatra wrapper over Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. The fillers are from Nicaragua and Dominican Republic and packaged in 25-count boxes. The Blue is offered in 2 sizes, a Robusto and a Toro. The company is keeping pricing in the 7 to 8 range, which is
Nice.
fantastic. Dude, the Black is incredible for that price range.
Yeah.
And I've had the Blue, and I think it was just as good. It's
Really?
a little tough. I've got to get another one in my hands. You know,
Yeah.
you can't
I
smoke.
have
anything
one
once.
back there to try. I haven't had a chance to get at it yet. The question for you. So the blend features a San Andreas Sumatra wrapper. Is that Sumatra seed grown in Mexico, or is that San Andreas Mexican seed grown in Indonesia? Like which like these guys aren't this.
What I think, I don't know, man.
It's killing me with this stuff.
Everybody jumps around so much. At this point, they could just be calling. My guess is it's grown in Mexico,
Right.
and it's either a variation or they're growing Sumatra in Mexico, or maybe they're just saying it's a Sumatra colored San Andreas instead of typically you have a San Andreas Maduro.
Right.
Right, that's what we're all used to seeing. So I don't know.
Yeah,
We can
I'm
reach
curious to see what it ends up being.
So this is there's a lot of news this week, but most of it's just little. Hey, this is what's coming out.
This
of the
is
trade
happening
show.
at PCA. Yeah.
So what I did was I spent a lot of time just going over some different cigars, and I'm just going to list them off. These are things that are going to be released or featured or showcased at the 2024 PCA trade show. We've got Rojas Cigars releasing the 10th anniversary. It's a cigar that commemorates, obviously, 10 years of Rojas Cigar. Wait. Do I? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. We have one more before I get there.
Before you get there.
That's what messed me up. So we'll get there in a second. But the Rojas 10th anniversary features a Habano, Ecuadorian, and Maduro wrapper from Oliva Tobacco Company. Blend also features a mix of Nicaraguan fillers grown and fermented by Rojas cigars from 3 different regions of Nicaragua. The cigar is a 6x50 Toro, limited release of 3,500 10-count boxes with 500 boxes already allocated for pre-order. The price is going to be $15 MSRP.
That's a jump for him.
It's a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, that's a week.
He doesn't usually do super limited stuff, though, does
Right.
he?
He has 2 or 3 a year.
The one thing I will say is that his cigars are always incredible.
Yeah.
So I would be way more likely to take a chance at 15 for one of his sticks than a lot of
Some of the others, yeah.
So here we go. Here's the list of all of the other stuff that's kind of like a notable mention here. We got the Umbagog Bronze Back by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. We also have the #GFY Lancero collection.
I love it.
Yeah.
And he had that, and he had the NLMTHA.
Yeah.
Now leave me the hell alone.
Yes.
Lancero.
And what was the GFY?
Go after yourself. Yeah.
I tried to I was trying to think of it yesterday. And it just come to me now.
Yeah.
I didn't want you to. I wasn't trying to trick you into saying
No.
the F.
I didn't
just
think you
couldn't
are.
Remember the other portions. Let's see. That's a Lancero collection.
Yep.
I think it features 10 in a box, which is cool. Hoyt in Nicaragua, the Ultimate Jewel Collection. Artista Cigars. This one's for Sam Rao, the HOF,
Wow.
or the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
By David Ortiz, obviously from Big Poppy Cigars. We have the Artista Falu, Sin Compromiso number 4 Robusto. The Gurkha Tyson 2.0 Undisputed. That'll be
Okay.
interesting. El Septimo Limited Edition. Vartan the Dragon, Dissident Plasmatic. La Giana Havana 30th Anniversary. Crowned Heads Coronetta. Liga Privada number 10 Robusto and Corona Doble. Drew Estate Blackened S84 Shade to Black, which is the second one for James Hetfield. Topper 1894, which is actually the oldest cigar brand in the U.S., if you didn't know that. They make primarily machine made, if I'm not mistaken. But I have had a premium one out of their offering before. It was actually really good. So I'll have to keep my eye out for that one. And is that Don Dorito? Don Doroteo. I know. I just kind of
Don
leaned into that
Dorito?
one.
I like Doritos. Where's the Cool Ranch at, bro?
I feel like that's like if we were in film school. Like if we had Cigar Junkies film school and the three of us just got together and was like, hey, let's make like a movie. Don Dorito.
Don Dorito.
Don Dorito. Let's see. That is the El Alcalde. And then finally, Ozinger family cigars, the Fursat, which is
buddy.
just a rough name.
It's just a what?
Fursat. Rough name.
Yeah.
No bueno. Don't get it?
Nope.
Okay.
I got nothing on that one. I have no idea what that word means at all.
Oh, it's a relief to get that camera off me.
Yeah? Feel better?
It's really awkward holding that big thing out to the side.
Yeah.
Not something I have a lot of experience with.
Yeah. Speaking of which, the cigar that Eric has chosen for today is the Lunatic 10x100. And it's doing exactly what I would expect a cigar of that size to do. It is uncomfortably ginormous. You've been at that for what, about an hour and a half now? And it looks like he just lit it. So, yeah, that is a lot of cigar. There's a lot going on there. It's pretty hefty. Yeah, he was impressed with the weight of it, and the girth as well.
Hefty. Wimpy, wimpy, wimpy.
Hefty. There was a comedian who used to do a skit with that. I can't remember enough of it to say it. Darn.
Hot pockets.
Ain't no bleeding. That was one of my favorite skits when that came out. What the hell's his name? Gaffigan.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I'm not with you on that one. That was funny to me for like 10 seconds. And then by the 35th time he said hot pockets in that skit, I wanted to shoot him in the face.
I was eating Hot Pockets nonstop at the time, so like I resembled the remarks he was making. That was a core of my diet at the time.
The way he said it was like nails on a chalkboard in my colon.
Oh, oh yeah. Wow, that's different. What's up, Keith Kilburn? Sorry, buddy, didn't realize you had commented. So appreciate you. But yeah, no, it's. There's some comedians that I've always thought like, yeah, I don't know why anybody thinks they're funny, and then you'll make a comment like that, and it's like, there's stuff that I think funny is just completely nope to other people. So,
ass for every seat.
Yeah,
seat
something
for every
like
ass.
It. Dude, quit getting him excited over there. Well,
I don't think he needs to be gotten excited. I think he just comes.
It's just like
way.
that's default.
I'm gonna start calling him Miley.
Miley.
Nice. I said we should have named Summer Miley because she'd be coming in like a wrecking ball too.
Yeah. I got to pop up here for a moment. We don't have Ryan's gloriousness, so enjoy a little bit more screen time there, bud.
You trying to get Eric excited with your
Don't
pop-up.
mute me.
I'm not muting you. Don't mute me, bro. Yeah, so for anybody that doesn't understand, the last time we did this show without Jason, I made the mistake of not having headphones on. And I muted Sam when he got up to take care of a customer. Well, he came back and we talked for 15 minutes, and I never unmuted him. So, yeah, my bad. We lost some content. Fortunately, we still had enough left over to make whatever this is. But anyways, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. I don't want to get too much into the deep dive because of the fact that I kind of want that to be a back and forth between Sam and I. But I will do a performance check-in on this cigar. So I remove my bands pretty early, which one thing I love about my father, their bands are actually super easy to remove. I hate it whenever you're just struggling to tear it off. You end up tearing the wrapper of the cigar off. But as always, the construction is impeccable. The burn on this is wonderful, even with a relight here or there because of the fact that I've been doing too many things over here. It's performing really well. The flavor is, this is actually not a super strong my father. Like, typically we associate Don Pepin with having a very peppery, forward kind of blend that he is known for. I mean, that's just who he is as a cigar maker. He makes peppery cigars. This one, although it has body and has flavor, and it's definitely not under like a medium, it is not strong. It's very approachable. It's not in your face. So I'd say this is probably like a really nice medium down the middle of the road cigar. And if I had to try for flavor notes, which I guess I will, I'd say that you're probably going to be somewhere in like a creamy kind of coffee or espresso flavor. That's just, again, the guy that doesn't normally do that. Now, which is funny because Jason will point out that, like, I'll take a sip of tequila and be like, ooh, it tastes like it's got pine. You know, like I'll pick up the flavor notes on food and drink, but not on the cigars. How about you? You got anything on this?
On this guy, you know what? I think it's one that I've smoked too many of, and I have, like, conflicting thoughts on it. Give me a minute on that. Give me a second to come back to it. I'm not sure.
So one of the things that I pointed out is that this is not like a traditional Pepin cigar. Like even that Connecticut, we talked about it having some peppery notes to it and having it stand out. There's no pepper on this to me.
Yeah, only a little bit on the retrohale. That's all you're going to get from it. I agree. No, definitely coffee, espresso kind of thing going there.
Hey,
but
I think you could say that about pretty much any cigar and never be really wrong because everybody.
Yeah, as soon as you get to a wrapper that's roughly this shade, you're going to have that hidden in there sometimes.
If nothing else, you get the color will make its way into your brain, and you get that. What do you call that? Subliminal tasting note just from the look of it, you know?
Well, that was actually a big conversation piece at like the Boggers thing last night. I said, you know, you got to be careful because with tasting anything, you can kind of convince people something tastes like whatever you want to say it is.
Yes.
So like you watch a lot of these guys and like, oh, I taste this, and you're like, I taste it. And it's like, okay, but kind of get your profile in your mind before you listen to somebody talk about it. And that helps.
Oh, absolutely.
You know. And then, but like a lot of times, like for me, I'll be like, I get like a, you know, the one whiskey, I can't think of the name of it right now. I get like a blackberry in the finish. Like it's weird.
Well, it's also funny how quickly that somebody can influence what you're tasting, right? Like I think of the bamboo rum as a great example in the clear bottle. So the first time I had that, somebody's like, hey, smell this, drink this, try it. And what do you get? And it's like, for me, it was a lot of like vanilla extract. It tasted like chocolate chip cookie dough without the chocolate chips. It just tasted like cookie dough before you pour the chips into the bag.
Yeah.
And then Evan's like banana cream pie. And bam, that banana just hit me and never went away.
Yeah.
And now it's very much like a banana twin popsicle to me.
Yeah.
And I've never gotten away from that, but I needed somebody else to make that association for me before I connected the dots.
Yeah. So a couple of the guys were talking with it last night when we were talking tasting notes. And I had brought a bunch of Maria Lucias there. So I was talking. I was like, you know, to me, that cigar tastes like this. And I was like, but real subtle. Like if you do the retrohale on the back end, you'll get like a stiff green apple to it. Like it'll just kind of like pop all of a sudden. Everybody's like, oh, yeah. And I was like, I don't get that at all. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, I don't get that note at all. I just said it to, you know what I mean? And they were all
That's
like,
funny.
That's weird. I tasted it. And I was like, yeah. Now go back at it knowing that it doesn't taste that way. And they were like, and I'm like, yeah, you got to be careful. Like, you know, especially when you're doing any tasting, like before you listen to someone say, I taste this or this, build your opinion as best you can and then see what it is. That the whiskey I was talking about where I get blackberry to it. I drank a couple times of it. I can't think of what it was. Anyways, I drank it here a couple times. The one guy's like, man, I get more like a red berry, you know, and not even a raspberry, just like a red berry, kind of like that common thing between like strawberries and raspberries and all that. And as soon as he said it, I was like, that's what it is. I just had it ID'd wrong.
Yeah, you didn't have the words attached.
Yeah, I was missing the words. So like,
but it will change the taste too.
Yeah,
and it's crazy how the brain can be influenced. So I have a two-parter here. One of them is going to go into a color with cigars in a moment. But to start off with, we did a ergonomics training class at work where it's like, okay, you have to go do this training for 3 hours or whatever it was. And the guy leading the class will hold on to another guy's arm and say, you're not going to be able to move my arm. You're not going to be able to. You can try all you want. You're not going to be able to. And he tries and he can't. and then the exact same exercise over again, this time telling him he will be able to, and he does.
Yep.
And then again switches back, and just by putting the positive or negative idea in your head, it has that effect.
Yeah.
You just your brain just goes, oh, okay, interprets that. So like it's really important, obviously, to have a positive attitude, because if you think you can't, you can't.
Yeah, a lot of the times for sure. And like with tasting stuff, like people say, oh, I don't taste it. Something else we discussed a lot last night, I'm going to kind of flip schedule a little bit on it, is we were talking about guys that like they really like they're chasing the octane. They want high octane whiskeys. And I did for a while, and now I'm like, I just don't want it. You know, the only reason to go high octane is to get you the purest form of it so that you can taste it more, right? Mm-hmm. And to me, because I like finding the flavor in things. I like actively putting my mind to it and trying to figure it out. I enjoy that part of it. It gets annoying. Sorry, there's all kinds of stuff happening here all of a sudden. It's just like my phone started blinking at me.
Too much input.
Yeah. But no, with that, you know, I'm tired of the high octane just to be high octane. You know, like the C921 it's a really, really good whiskey, and it won best of in some magazine or somebody reviewed it, and that's great and it is good, but not until I add a bunch of water to it, because it's just like it's so much alcohol to it that I'm like, yeah, you can taste it more, but like why?
Yeah.
When I can still taste it, as long as I put a little bit of thought into it, I can taste it and just water it down a little bit.
Value for your money, man. Like,
and that's,
you can water it down and still, you know.
And that's what we were laughing. They're like, well, you know, it turns that 750 milliliter into 1,000 for
that's
you.
Right.
I'm like, that's great, but you know what? If I have to do the work, why am I paying the price tag on it too? Like, you do the blending. Why am I blending it?
Yeah. Get back to the Opus X argument, huh?
Yeah.
So the other thing that I
you
had,
knew exactly where I was.
The other thing that I had to say is, like, it's an experiment that would be worth trying for you someday. Maybe even for your, you do the mystery cigar of the month. Try colored paper, okay?
Okay.
So use tissue paper, wrap it in red one month, and then wrap it in a different color another month, and see what effect it has. Because if you have red on the band of a cigar, way more likely to pick up cinnamon on tasting notes. You know what I mean? Like that coloration, we were talking about anything of, you know, oh, the color is going to make you lean toward interpreting coffee or espresso. I think you have that same effect with the coloration of a band. You put red on there, and all of a sudden people are like, ooh, cinnamon, orange. It's like, oh, citrus.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's, I mean, look at the color of the shop. Like those were picked to elicit certain emotions. You know, the yellow when you come in to get you excited, the orangish red to keep you awake, but it's muted to make it so that you're calm at the same time. Like, you know, it was a lot more than just, oh, this is a pretty color.
It doesn't work on me most of the time, does it? The tequila is an influence.
And, well, yeah, if you have outside sources going into it. Eric asked in the chat, he said, do you think the high-octane liquors take away from the flavor of the cigar you're smoking? 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
That goes with anything. I mean, if you're switching back and forth between strong tasting foods, drinks, obviously there's a big effect. You know what I mean? That's why nobody typically likes to take a big bite out of a piece of cake and then chase it down with a sip of Coke or something,
right? Because
the sugar from the Coke is not going to be prevalent. You're just going to taste the poison.
Yep. Yeah, it's not pleasant after that.
No.
Well, that's we were talking about like pairing scotches yesterday, and scotches are tough because like they get real smoky. To put that with a cigar, because it's naturally, you know, smoking, is difficult a lot of times to find one that pairs with it decently, whether it be a contrast or comparable pairing. It's just tough. A lot of guys will grab fire cure just because they're like, oh, smoky, 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 and it's like, yeah, but are you really getting any of the smoke out of that guy?
You're not, but that's why it's an interesting pairing,
yeah,
right? Because you've got complementary and you've got contradictory.
Yeah.
So you put two things together because salty and sweet taste good together. Or you put smoky with smoky because then all of a sudden you're tasting stuff out of the cigar that you don't taste whenever you smoke it when you're drinking anything else.
Yeah.
which I think is the fun of it.
Yeah, and it's playing with those different things. I never got into like the smoke on smoke ones. It's always just been like they're too busy competing with each other to do that part well, that like everything else kind of gets tossed around and muted a little bit. But then that got me thinking about with the high octane stuff we were talking about with cigars. Like there's a gentleman comes in here and he comes in 3 times a week, and every time these cigars just don't taste like anything. I mean, I've given him, he's smoked most every cigar that I have here, and none of them taste like anything. Flavored, all of it. And I'm like, bud, you
got COVID.
Your palate's burned out, man. And that's really it, is like something's off. If I'm handing you a pissed off Christoph and a Jacob's Ladder and you're like, it just doesn't have anything to it, I need something stronger. Hold on, let's talk about what strength means to you versus me, first off. And then, because strength you're looking for a lot of body versus strength, which we've covered 100 times. That's 2 completely different things. But he's just like, I need something that really I can really taste the tobacco. And I'm like, but it's literally just pure tobacco.
The tobacco's in your mouth.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, and I feel bad. But that you watch.
Is this guy a cigar or a cigarette smoker?
No,
that's wild, because generally that seems to be a thing that you get with the cigarette smoker, because it's just not going to be the same experience.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when I smoked cigarettes and I tried cigars, I was like, this isn't me. You know what I mean? But I was also probably like inhaling them and having a rough time. But whenever they said, no, don't inhale them, I said, okay. I tried doing it the right way. It was boring to me. There wasn't anything there, because you're used to taking a big inhale and getting a rush and having all the other chemical things that happen in your body instantly with a puff off a cigarette. Yes.
Dopamine.
So it's just not the same experience. So I would be interested in like what other things this guy's doing for tobacco intake. Or
he's up there in age pretty far too.
Yeah.
So you've got to add that in. But like with the chasing like high octane whiskeys, like it makes it so you can't enjoy
Jason.
Some of the lower stuff. What up, Jay?
We got the other junkie finally joining us.
Yeah.
He's been late before, but this is a record.
Yeah, I'd say he's topped it out this time. But no, I think the same things with cigars. Like a lot of people are like, I only like strong ones. It's like, okay, but hold on. Let's go back for a little bit and try a couple that aren't so strong, or let's do something to kind of try and kickstart your palate, because there's a lot of flavor in some of the light cigars. Yeah, you got to look for it a little bit, but if all you're hitting is hammers all the time, then you're going to have to keep always having hammers to be able to taste it.
You and Eric and them hammers, man. Everybody just likes getting nailed.
Hammer time.
There's something to be said, too, with how are you smoking it?
Yeah.
I mean, like, that sounds really basic and stupid, but the way you smoke a cigar, you could do it for 10 years and then all of a sudden turn around on it because you tried a different way. And there are things that you can do to engage your palate, like chewing, smacking your lips, all that super obnoxious stuff they do when they're tasting wine or scotch or whatever, and you see them and you're like, that seems dumb. Yes, that stuff, it seems so terrible. But if you're not getting anything from it any other way, that's a way to like engage your taste buds and get them working as a part of your eating experience or drinking experience. So it has an effect for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm real big on, when I take a hit, I consciously roll the smoke around in my mouth, and that helps me taste.
Let's not say take a hit anymore. How about take a puff? Take a hit seems very...
I mean, it's what you're doing, though. It's a hit. It is. Everybody understands the reference there, because we are junkies, right? So you got to get that hit.
Yeah. You see what Jason had to say about that?
He said he smokes cigars like he smokes rocks.
That's right.
I am a strong believer in like rolling the smoke around. Now, some of the over dramatized movements to try and get more flavor out of stuff, it does help. It does work.
And what you ate, what you drank beforehand
changes everything.
If your guy's coming in here after downing a pot of super strong black coffee, and that's where his palate's at, you know what I mean? Like, hey man, come in here on just water or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe you just hadn't had enough vitamin E.
Yeah. Well, and it's like for me, black coffee and a Connecticut is better than trying to do like a Maduro or something like that. But like if I'm going to put cream and sugar in, or if I'm going to have a sweeter drink, then I will want the Maduro. So like it's funny that a coffee being what coffee is, you can add so many things to it. You have so many options to sweeten it or change the flavor profile on it, that you can put a different cigar with it, and have a different coffee cigar that you like. Was it the Tatiscan Connecticut? Ryan was saying he loves that with a cup of black coffee because it's got that little bit of sweetness at the beginning, and then it kind of mellows out.
Stir your coffee with it.
Yeah. Mixy.
So what do you say? You want to get into my replacement segment?
Yeah, I'm curious to learn about, sir.
So what I'm calling this is mostly it was because of the fact that the news that I've had, or I'm sorry, the events that I've had on the notes, I haven't had to replace them for a while because there was so many St. Patrick's things come up that it was just like I didn't want to add to it. And then I just didn't feel like replacing it because we're trying to get away from that segment anyway. So today I thought I would give myself some extra work and try going into a further deep dive on my father's cigars, or more importantly, the man behind the cigar. So here's a little more information for you on Don Pepin.
I dig it.
He left Cuba in 2001, going first to Nicaragua, then Miami, but soon established his own company and factory. The company, El Rey de los Habanos, was begun in June of 2002. In the short time that he has been on his own, this is from Wikipedia. So it's probably a while ago that this was put up, because it
changed.
Depends on how you want to look at it. Short while versus how long he was in the Cuban market is definitely different. So, but he moved from a relative unknown to major name in the boutique brand arena. In addition to his own brands, he has blended and makes several others for various companies. His skill as a master roller has often been recognized. Pete Johnson said that his unusually adept skill is evidenced by the fine construction of the cigar. By 2007, his reputation as a superior cigar maker had grown, and he was tapped to create and manufacture a completely new brand, San Cristobal, for a major premium cigar company, Ashton Distributors. That is actually on our list for stuff to smoke eventually.
Yeah.
Because we've never done one on the show, so it'll be interesting to check out. The first brand Pepin made on his own was Tatuaje for Pete Johnson, something we have a lot of experience with on this show, and something that I know that is definitely in your personal favorites. Let's see. After the brand received high ratings in Cigar Aficionado magazine, Pepin was suddenly in great demand, and many people wanted a Don Pepin brand for themselves. A tiny Miami factory was unable to keep up with the growing demand, and it became necessary to open a second factory, Tabacalera Cubana, in Esteli, Nicaragua. With the opening of the Esteli factory, Pepin changed the overall company brand name to My Father's Cigars, derived from a blend son Jaime Garcia had made for him. My Father's rise to prominence was capped when the Flor de las Antillas was named 2012 Cigar of the Year by Cigar Aficionado, an accolade repeated when My Father La Beju 1922 received the same honor for 2015. So a couple of those things we were talking about earlier make their way back in to the deep dive. All of the cigars made at his factories are made in Cuban style, which means entubar, where they fold the filler tobaccos before wrapping them. And let's see. I'm sorry. Finished with a triple cap. In addition, every box is marked with a date of manufacture, a practice which is beginning to gain favor outside of Cuba, where it has always been done.
Yeah.
Actually, that's been kind of problematic for some people in some ways, like particularly Cuban cigars.
Yeah.
Because what happens is the real geeks and nerds look for stuff from certain years because we talk about all the time, the crop's different, right, year to year. So you might have a better yield on this tobacco or that tobacco. You might have more strength, less strength. So what happens is then you get people digging through them, looking for particular years and particular vintages, and that might leave some of your other stuff unsold.
Yep. Just like wines.
Here he goes again on his own. You were giving me the look, so I was like, oh, I'm going to give him a camera. But nope, he's just running away again. It would have been super convenient if this would have happened a few minutes ago when I had all kinds of stuff to talk about for Sam's input. And now I'm just here hanging out by myself holding the proverbial cheese. I do have you, which I usually appreciate, Eric, but there's a whole different level of discomfort whenever I know you're behind me and I can't see you. It's a little I don't know. I feel like there should be some Jaws music playing. Dun 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 dun. How's that cigar treating you over there? He's smoking that gigantic thing. Where is it? Are you sitting on it? We knew it was going to happen eventually. I'm interested in you guys, what your experience is with my father, if any. What did you know about Don Pepin before? Did you learn anything on the show today? Let's see what Jason Smith has to say. He says, holy cow, today is my 1-year anniversary with the show. Facebook told him so. So happy anniversary, Jason. Thanks for, you showed up, which is, I didn't expect you to jump in, at least in the chat room. It's good to have you here with us. Believe it or not, I do miss you, particularly just for moments like this, because we could talk about, I don't know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something. We could be like, hey, remember the 80s? Remember those days? They were great. We were all feral and running around, and nobody knew where we were and all that happy stuff. Yeah, so here I am by myself trying to do a show. There's a reason that I need a co-host for the show. I can't just sit here for 90 minutes. I could, but it'd be god-awful. God-awfuler than it normally is. You got any questions in the audience? How about anything? Have you smoked much, my father there, Eric? Is that something you've smoked before? No. He is not. So clearly that's something that you need to check out sometime in the near future, if for no other reason, just for the prominence that Pepin and my father have in laying the groundwork for what has become the New World cigar. And like a lot of that has come from people that have had their foot in both arenas, and people that have immigrated from Cuba. Another one that I think of is like an Ernesto Perez Carrillo, who is also very responsible for the cigar boom in the La Gloria Cubana. Big smash hit back in the 90s. One of the things that drove the industry to being where it is today. And it's funny because I think personally New World cigars have just gone so far beyond and surpassed what Cuban cigars were, and especially what they are now. And have gotten better, but you still see a lot of companies striving to make, they'll say old world because they don't want to say Cuban, because that's not where they're trying to drive you. They want to keep that out of your mind. But a lot of people are still trying to give you that experience of, hey, you can't get a Cuban cigar, so here, try this. This is kind of like as close as you're going to get or whatever. And that's like a contradictory mindset for me, because I get you're still trying to compete with this antiquated notion that Cuban cigars are the best cigars in the world, but honestly, they just aren't anymore. Agricultural improvements, just the fact that they're made in non-communist countries where people have incentives to make a good product and try to do better all the time, have really basically put everybody else so far ahead of that old world Cuban cigar market. And I think we all kind of need to reevaluate what the standard is, and I don't think it's Cubans anymore. If you guys disagree with me, let us know. You can always do that by emailing us at thecigarjunkies@gmail.com, or like we said before, go to thecigarjunkies.com, where all those helpful links are there for you. This is
what I missed, buddy. I'm sorry.
A lot.
Yeah.
It's funny because like I got through all that information specifically so we'd have something to talk about, and then you're gone, and it's like, oh, I wish I had
the part that I had all that information. Yeah.
I wish I had a whole page that I could read while Sam was gone, but I just did that. The plus side for you is that whenever this show's over and you go to listen to it, it'll be like a whole new show.
Yeah, it'll be a whole new section for me. So
I actually think you would enjoy it too. But
I
like just had this real little sweet spot for a minute where
I had
coherent statements.
Well, you're definitely waking up, and your voice is coming back to your voice now that you're talking it out a little bit.
Less Jason-y?
Yeah. Did you catch Jason's comment about today?
Yes.
Okay.
His anniversary, we talked about.
Okay, that's why I wasn't going to bring it up if you had already covered it. And then let me read this last two off of the deep dive because I just missed them right as I was getting up. Nope, that's what we were talking about whenever. You were talking about the different, the age statements and all that stuff. I never understood with cigars, like if you're going to chase an age statement for a cigar, it's kind of crazy to me because it's going to change each as it goes, which is going to change better, worse. Like, so maybe you could chase it because it's trending towards aging better, but like they change. Where like wine, once it's in the bottle, it's done. It's finished. It's aging. It's absorbed. What it's going to absorb. Cigars, they gain more subtlety and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's true to a lot of degrees, but I mean, there's still difference. You know what I mean? You might have been smoking a cigar for a while and been like, I really love this. And then maybe they made a change to the blend.
Yeah, like Camacho Triple Maduro. Completely different cigar now.
Maybe and that's different because that changed hands in brand ownership. And then they had a packaging change and all that happy stuff. So that's a little bit more on the nose. But it might be like you just can't get this tobacco anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? It could be something like that, or they might have just had a really unbelievable year one year and got a ridiculous amount of sunlight or something that made the tobacco stronger. And maybe, like for me personally, I smoke the Aladino Vintage Selection Rothschild all the time, right?
Yep.
But how often do you hear me come in and go, oh, this is a good one. Mm-hmm. This is a good batch, a good box, because there's a difference between those. Now, there are companies out there that just put so much effort into trying to maintain the blend exactly as it is. Like Padron is a great example of that, where they're constantly tweaking it so that even if the tobacco is different, the cigar still tastes the same.
Yeah.
But Cuban, things like that, you've got these particular seasons that were better than other seasons, and you might just be like, hey, I want to get as many of these as I can. This is the one that I want to get them while I can. And it's not necessarily about being like, hey, I'm going to hold on to these, but if it is, you can relatively freeze a cigar the same way that you're going to freeze a bottled product.
Yeah, to some extent. You can't stop aging in a cigar, though.
You can't bring it to a halt, but you can slow it down significantly by holding it at a lower temperature and humidity in your humidor. So if you sit at 60 degrees and 60% humidity, that change that occurs will happen a lot slower and more subtly.
I know that's the claim of it. I feel like that bringing it from 60 and 60 back up to 70 and 70, if that's your sweet spot for smoking, I feel like that drastic change to get it so you can smoke it that usually occurs, or by that cycle of it was humidified here and you came down to slow it and then you brought it back up. I feel like every time you do that, though, you kick-started a lot back up. That change just makes a drastic change quickly.
You do. That's actually a method that I know that people have done successfully for accelerating aging.
Yeah.
So it's like if you want this cigar to change, if it's too intense for you and you want it to dial back, then you want to essentially dry box it for 2 months and then bring it up to 70 and 70 for a month and then repeat that cycle, and it's going to age twice as fast. But what you're doing there is you're actually forcing that cigar to exhale, right?
Right.
You're pulling everything out of it that is not the qualities you're looking for, and then you're rehydrating it and taking new air back in and so forth. So you're correct insofar as if you're making it go through changes, but if you grab a box out of a cigar shop, and go, hey man, I'm really loving these, I'm going to hold on to a few boxes because I want to have them in a year or two in case they change, and you hold them at 60 and 60 the whole time.
Yeah.
And then don't change it and honestly, 60 and 60 is it's a very smokable cigar. So it's not like you have to bring it up either before you smoke it.
Yeah, 60, depending on the wrapper, 60 is fine. You get something like a Candela, which even that anymore. A lot of the Candelas are a lot meatier than they used to be. You're looking at these Corojo Candelas, Illusion.
I think Cameroon is the one you'd have to worry about.
Yeah,
Cameroon is super delicate.
Yeah, most of the Candela seems to be pretty delicate as well. But I agree. Like Cameroon's definitely the softest of the bunch. So like with that, you can't really smoke that at 60. You know, I had a customer in here the other day. He smokes lot 23s, and that's his primary cigar. He's at that most of the time. And he had one split on him the other day, and I replaced it. And I was like, hey, but it was super, super cold out. It was really dry out.
Yeah.
And that changed just from coming from the humidor and coming out here. I was like, look, you got to light this thing slow. You can't go straight at it with the flame like you are. And I showed him, exactly, instead of going at it with a torch and hammering it and puffing away to hurry up and light it, it's going to pop. Like you're begging for it to pop at that point because you're in an incredibly dry environment.
Right.
You have the shift in temperature, which I keep the shop as close to the same as the humidor as I can. But there's hot spots and cold spots in here that I can't do anything about.
Not to mention the fact that you have doors opening and closing and people coming and going, and all of that makes a significant difference. But my point is, other than this, like so
most people aren't aging those type of cigars, though.
Well, a drastic change in temperature and humidity is going to change your smoking experience, right? But it's not going to one shift in a period of a day or a week is not going to age a cigar either. You can't be like, hey, I'm going to take this cigar and I'm just going to go, up from 60 to 70 and it's going to make like an overnight difference.
Yeah.
As long as you're always smoking everything at the same temperature and humidity, you're going to have a consistency there. And doing one quick drop and back up over a short period of time isn't going to change with that.
It's not going to,
right.
It's not going to be a massive amount, but it is a variable to keep at play if you're going to be trying to age something or you're going to be playing that game at all.
For sure. And the whole idea behind it really is what you're doing is putting your cigar through extra fermentation. Right? Like the heat plays a big factor in that. That's why they have to turn those polones, because it's essentially the same thing that you get with a compost, is that deterioration creates heat, right? That's what happens. And that heat being at a consistent place is necessary. The temperature is necessary for the fermentation. So that's kind of why going back and forth is going to change your aging or your experience with the cigar.
When I had mentioned the age statement stuff, Eric had a question that he tried to lean over and ask. What do you think? Do you think it has like a generational difference at all? Like the type of people from different generations, like, do you think that like our generation is less patient than generations before us with aging stuff like that? Or do you think we're more meticulous? Cause like, I can see both sides of that.
I'm sure there is, right? Like 2024 is a time of instant gratification, right?
Yeah.
So like, you want to try to go through it faster, but really, I mean, what it comes down to is going like, hey, you can pay more for a cigar. Like a lot of times when you're paying more for a cigar, there's two factors there. If it's a legitimate price, like for their cost, it's either a tobacco that's more expensive because it's harder to get and it's supply and demand, or it's because they held on to that tobacco and went through extra aging, and they have to compensate themselves for that real estate that they're taking up by having tobacco sit there that they cannot sell or they have to hold. So you have to work out the math there somehow. So I think essentially what we're looking at when we're talking about aging cigars or trying to age them quickly is you're going, okay, how do I get, without paying for it, how do I get that quality of some of that higher end aged tobacco? And if you're looking to do it, I think a lot of times people do it just to see, you know what I mean? Just for the experimental portion of it. I think a lot of that's in the whiskey hobby and the cigar hobby, right? Like you're talking about putting water in and going trying different things.
Yeah, doing your own mixes and blends for it. Well, after I asked you that, like I'm sitting here pondering the question even more. I think our generation, because everything's instant gratification, I think when people get into something like the aging cigars or smoking meat or playing with blends on whiskeys and all that stuff. I think we're more meticulous in a way because we're not used to it, so we're very calculated. But previous generations that were less, instant gratification did more of it, so they're more willy-nilly with it than we would be.
We also have, like, the world has gotten smaller,
Yes.
right? So we have the luxury of options, right? We can order something from Amazon and have it at the house tomorrow.
Yeah.
We can, you can eat the pineapple any time of the year. It doesn't grow here, but it's constantly moving here. You can go into a Market District grocery store and have access to all kinds of crazy things.
You grab dragon fruit, pineapple, apples, and strawberries all in one place. And
where back in the day, you went into your little local Foodland grocery store or whatever, and you had, 4 choices in your produce section because they were the things that you could grow in that area. And They were accessible. So I think just the variety that we have access to has also kind of spoiled us.
That's true. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of why bother because there's already something there. Like there's already, even with the cigars, like, certain guys will come in and they're fixated on rare cigars. And a lot of the time, something that's a one-off is blended because it can be extraordinary in a small quantity, but they can't produce it. Awesome. But a lot of the time, like, hey, I'm looking for this cigar. It's like, okay, that's fine, but like everything about the profile of that cigar is good. This one already does it better, and it's readily available.
Right.
And, there's some of that to it, which, the allure and the mystique, that falls into any industry. But with that whole everything's available quickly going out there, it's all readily available, but are you willing to try different things is a big part of it. And, it even, like you smoke medium plus up majority of the time.
Most of the time, yeah.
But you're not hesitant to try a new Connecticut. You're not hesitant to try any. And, I mean, to be the type of nerds that we are with this, obviously that's kind of ingrained in us. But a lot of people, I only like Maduro. And I'm like, okay, cool. Why? What's the only one that's flavorful enough? Well, let's talk a little more. Like there's a Maduro Sumatra in there that's incredibly mild, way turned down compared to 80% of the cigars in there.
Well, and what you're looking at on a cigar, too, is misleading because your wrapper is only, calculating for, 15% of the total tobacco in the cigar. So,
right.
Like, if all of the fillers are mild and you don't have a lot of, I'm going to brain fart on damn Lajero. And the blend, obviously, is going to be milder. But there's also, there's a generational difference, just going back to the 90s versus now on what cigars are, even for, boutique cigars. Back in the 90s when the boom was happening, you would have a strong cigar then is medium now, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, that it's just a whole different change of what the standards are for what people think. But not only that, too, we're so blessed with this abundance of an incredible variety of really good cigars where that boom happened and you had a couple of guys that did it right. Those are the guys that are still here today because they maintained their quality. But demand increased so much that people were just shipping out anything they could. Cigar shops would buy anything they could because everybody just wanted cigars. It was like the fad. It was what was going on. And, because of that, when the boom ended and it crashed, all the good guys survived. And then anybody that came out after that had to compete with these great cigars. And everybody had to step up their game. And you have that rising tides. You know what I mean?
And I think we're in the midst of another one of those booms where we have a lot of new, smaller boutiques coming out. They're learning from lessons of the past for the most part, but you have some that are just like, all right, I'm a marketing genius. I'm going to push this garbage cigar out to the masses. I'm not going to name it, but I just got a sampler pack of a cigar I had tried before, and he called. And he's like, hey, are you interested in bringing us in? I said, look, I was not impressed with anything last time I smoked them. And he's like, well, let me send you a sampler, all that. Cool. That's the right way to go about it. I made it 2 inches into the Lancero, and I wasn't going to smoke it anymore. No, thank you. Got into their Habano, and it was one of the most boring poorly constructed cigars I've ever had. And we're talking $10, $12 price point on these cigars. Like, at that point, I have expectations for you. If that Lancero was $5 to $7, I'd have brought it in. But
Well,
at
the
$10, no way.
The funny thing is, too, like, I'm not suggesting that you take in a cigar that you don't believe in. But if somebody else does and they sell it the right way, you're going to get people on that line, and people
Right.
are going to smoke it somewhere, which is just wild to think about. But again, that comes back to the fact that we were talking about with comedians earlier, where you're like, I don't like this. I don't get why other people do, and then you see what people have the same reaction to something that you like, and you just have to kind of keep that in mind. But particularly when it comes to quality of construction and things like that, that's obviously a universal yes or no.
For the most part, it's their flavor profile that's just it's just garbage on it. Since I'm not talking about it, I don't feel saying, like, it's not good. And I carry a ton of cigars that I don't like.
Yeah.
Because I don't have to like them all. That's why there's so much of a variety. But there's a point where I don't like it, and I could jump on the bandwagon of the hype of the name of this, and they're going to market it, and they're going to get traction, and the name of this company is going to sell some of the cigars and things like that. But there's nothing behind it, so it's going to fall off. I don't want to be $150 or 150 boxes deep the day that it falls off.
Well, not to mention that, but even from the point of view of, we've talked about, we've dragged our feet a little bit, but we've talked about bringing in brands for sponsorship for this podcast. And the idea is always that you'd rather have a brand name that you're trying to push to people that you enjoy and believe in.
Yeah.
And if that's possible, you want it to be. And not only that, but from your perspective, you're selling everything that moves here, right? So you want to be able to stand behind the product that you're selling and be able to honestly say, like, hey, this is something that I think is a good quality product that I can stand behind when you take it out of my shop.
Yeah. And there's a cigar in there. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, look, I don't like this cigar at all, but I sell a ton of them.
Yeah.
Guys love them. It's got its following, all that. And the guy kind of looked at me, and he's like, well, was it good or not? I said, it's not good for me, but it's great for some people. Like, there's, look around you, man. You're inundated with choices in there. Choice paralysis in a humidor is the reason I go in every time.
Yeah. Every single cigar shop I go into, I have to look at every option available before I make a decision, because I might go in there and see something that I like or something that it's okay for me and grab it. But at the same time, if I go through and look through everything they have there, that last one I look at might be, hey, man, it's something that I've heard a lot about, I really wanted to try, or something I haven't had in a long time that I remember being amazing and I didn't realize was an option for me.
Yeah.
And inventory rolls over at every cigar shop.
Right.
So you kind of have to take a little bit of time to really say, hey, what are my choices before you make one, right?
Yeah, what do we have? And that's it. One of my least favorite things when I was trying to start, like, experimenting with cigars is I felt like most of the shops, I couldn't get the type of help I was looking for.
Sure.
It's right. That's businesses. Find the thing you don't like in something, correct that, and like there's whole business models based on just that. And that's why we go in and we do it. But if you're gonna pick a cigar, based on wrapper, binder, filler, cool. But you got to learn the regions. If you're going to learn the regions, you got to learn the seed varietal. Not like you have to go down a pretty deep, dark hole to be able to pick a cigar by the wrapper. And like I don't research that side of things. I'll do that when I go down to those countries and I can actually try them side by side and do fumas and stuff like that. Like, it's something I want to learn, but I want to learn it in the right environment. So until then, I'm not going to read about what it tastes like.
So before I get back to the notes and start looking to wrap this episode up, there's something that you touched on that I kind of wanted to get back to real quick, which is the current boom, or wherever we are in a boom. And I think if you really look at it, there's kind of two things happening. One of which was COVID. COVID had a huge influence, and we kind of saw a short boom of buying because people had time. They were at home. They couldn't go do or spend money on things that they otherwise typically would. Couldn't go on vacations, all those things. And you go, okay, I've got more money to throw at cigars or whatever. And that created an influx in buying, which then, supply demand.
Yep.
That's what happens. But then the other thing that I think you have going on too is I think that the FDA decisions that have been made recently kind of, you saw, like, at first when the FDA regulations were looming, you had this sudden influx of everybody trying to put out whatever they could in case they moved the predicate date so that they would get in kind of Indiana Jones-esque, right?
Yeah.
Like right before the door slammed shut. They wanted to get in and get as many cigars on the market as they could so that they would be protected by the predicate date. But now I think what's happened is you had a little slowdown because people thought, okay, now I don't want to put my money into something that's potentially very likely to be a dead end and have to get taken off the market anyway.
Right.
And now you have that other side of, like, all of these particularly small companies that go like, hey, it's off for now. It's fended off. This might be like, we might have a little bit of time here, but they're going to come back, right? And hopefully we can keep fighting the fight and keep the FDA off of our collective asses. But at the same time, it's like, this might be your only shot now. If you always wanted to do it, I think you have a lot of people going like, hey, this is the window.
Yeah. And another thought on that boom is, like, that 90s boom, we're like, those of us that are big Lancero people and are trying to help increase the awareness of how they're cool, like, and how they're different. I still, every fourth person that I try and talk to about a Lancero is always like, yeah, but they plug up all the time because of that 90s boom, because of that reputation, because they were rushing this tiny, skinny cigar to market that they just, half of them wouldn't draw. And that was normal. Like, that's not okay.
Which is ironic because you could say the exact same thing about Cubans, but because of the Cuban reputation, everybody still thinks that's the thing to get.
Yeah,
but it's really kind of the opposite. You should be buying New World Lanceros, not Old World Cubans.
Right. And, on that. And then, again, I find Cuban cigars it's like spaghetti. It's a noodle. It's sustenance. It's good. You like it. That's awesome. But I want some spices. I want some other things added. And when they took the seeds out and went other places.
How about some chicken Parmesan, damn
Dude, bro, I will. That sounds really good. And I'm way too hungry right now to talk about food. That sounds delicious.
Where you at, Jeff Pohl?
Yeah. But no, you get all these attributes from all these different soil compositions, different countries, different growing techniques, all that. And we have access to all that. It's spread out to these different regions now that you can blend these just cool cigars. So is a Cuban cigar good? Yes. You can't, like, for the most part, yeah. But they are using 70-year-old. They're using 70-year-old technology, as far as, like, crop rotations and stuff like that. They're using things like that. Like,
I was actually just gonna mention crop rotation
because they don't.
Right, and so, like, they're kind of. Essentially, what's incredible about Cuba, other than its latitude and longitude, right? In the climate there, is the soil, and that is actually a finite resource if they don't do something to keep it going. You know what I mean? Jiminy. Somebody took out a stinky, I think. So, like. I went to the Barn Smoker in Lancaster, PA, which was super cool to get out on a tobacco farm. And he'll be like, the owner of the farm is telling us, like, this is where it is right now. But then, the next season, this is going to be planted here, and then that'll be harvested. This will be planted here, and that'll be harvested. And it's not even, I mean, they're obviously trying to rotate crops that they could do something with and it'll have a function for them. But the primary reason they're doing it is to re-enrich the soil, to make the soil the right conditions to grow tobacco again. Because guess what? If your tobacco is picking up the nitrates and the magnesium out of that soil, eventually that magnesium's going to be gone, right?
Yep. And that's what rotation is. And then you have a sacrificial crop every once in a while where you grow something and you literally just till it back in and let it go, and it helps
nutrients back into the soil.
Builds it back in. And that technology's here, but they're not using it there, and they can't at this point because the demand is so high on their cigars that
they're using all of
the space all of the time to do this one thing. They've positioned themselves incorrectly, and that's, I think, when the embargo was partially lifted, you could go down there and all that stuff for Cuba and bring back whatever you wanted. that influx of American demand hitting that market, I feel like had a big part to play with why that market closed again real fast. And I think that's why Beijing was able to take over Habanas SA and stuff like that. You've got all the business side on the back end of that, but the price increase, the cigars just aren't there. And then you have the Chinese market is buying all the Cubans up. So now the boutiques we love here are starting to go to Europe, which means our demand, our supply here is reduced. So prices are increasing. You have so many factors in that right now that's just incredibly complex.
You know what's interesting to contemplate is how much the fake Cuban market has kept the real Cuban market going.
Yeah.
You ever wonder, like, how many non-Cuban cigars that are being packaged as Cubans that might actually be better than actual Cuban cigars because they're not Cuban, and people are smoking them and going, hey, this is great, and realizing, hey, that it's good because it's not Cuban, but it's actually lifting the brand up and then kind of recycling, right? Like, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to find out if, Habanas SA had a hand in the fake market as well. Because it has been so efficient at the way that that's happened.
Like, if you don't understand what I'm saying here, that would be like buying a fake Rolex that was actually a much better watch than the real Rolex. But because the fake was good, people were like, oh, that's really nice. Now it keeps that brand going, and people keep buying the crappy Rolex because the fake Rolexes are so good. Like, it's such a weird thing to think about.
Yeah, I don't like this because of X and Y. And then they're like, oh, you don't like that? Well, try this one. I got it in this place at this time. And then you smoke it, and you're like, oh, that is really good. It must have just been a bad batch. So then they buy a box of this one, and they order the authentic, and it's garbage again. Or like whatever it is. It just, you're right, the fake market has absolutely influenced the hell out of the...
What's interesting is we've actually, like, non-intentionally established a theme for this show, which is, like, subliminal.
Yeah, we really
things,
did.
Right? Like what your brain can trick you into.
Yeah.
And, that just goes all the way from what you're tasting into, keeping a outdated commerce going well beyond its prime. So it's kind of fun that we kind of tied all that shit back to, I don't have any quarters. Made it so far. But we tied it all together unintentionally. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. No, that's definitely different. But
what's your final thoughts on the My Father?
Fantastic as always, full body, delicious. But I'm going to say the thing because I got one coming, so salud.
Say it. That's right. He said the thing. I am going to say my final thoughts on this cigar was a fantastic experience the whole way through. I am at the end here of this one, and we are at the end of the show, sadly. Hopefully next week I'll be feeling more festive, and we will have Jason back to help take some of the burden off me for producing this amazing content for you guys. I do want to welcome the new members to the group, which is Unk Fiesta and Linda Santa Maria. No participation trophy. You guys been a little lacking there. And we try not to repeat, too. Otherwise, I could probably give it to somebody. We might have to reevaluate that in the future. I do want to say you guys can check us out at thecigarjunkies.com, where you can find our newest audio episodes, our newest YouTube episodes. You can find these amazing T-shirts that we have for you in all kinds of different styles. You can jump on there and throw a couple of bucks on the GoFundMe for Chichingo. Patty, Dave could really use your support, and we'd appreciate it if you'd help them out. And I think that's going to be it for me. Come hang out with us every Sunday morning at 9:30, whether we feel like doing a show or not, and join in the chat room. Let us know that you guys are here. Appreciate you hanging out with us. See you next time.